Peace. What up, you guys? It is the guy Anti-Simp back with a new series. This is the pilot episode of Anti-Simp characters in anime, or Anti-Simp in anime or cartoons. And I want to talk about some of the characters in anime that are anti-simp. First off, before we get started, I want to explain to you guys. I might even have this like in the beginning of the videos, like a video clip, so you can identify what these characters are. This way, there's no confusion if you decide to basically give me an idea. If you decide you know of a character you'd like to find out if he's a simp or anti-simp in the series, then I could check him out. I could do an analysis on him. And anyway, let's get to a definition. So I'll basically define a character that is anti-simp in an anime. What makes these characters anti-simp? Someone on their purpose whose aura attracted women without having to change who they are or conform to social standards. That is what makes these characters anti-simp. And if you've watched some of these shows, you're gonna kind of get the picture, So let's get started. So I've conducted a list of characters in anime that I've watched, and I'm going to pretty much read them off and give you a little backstory on the characters. Some characters you might need because you might not have seen the show before. I'm going to try my best to do a backstory on these characters, and let's get to it. So number one would be Spike. Spike and Jet from Cowboy Bebop. Why are they on the list? Well, if you've never seen Cowboy Bebop, you should. It's among my favorite animes, and the list of most influential animes is on the list of one of the greatest animes of all time. However, the reason why I put them on the list is because of how they handle women in their past relationships and how they gracefully took L's, especially Jet. Jet was a guy who was dealing with a woman who was his lover. I think her name was Ganymede LG. He got dumped by his girlfriend. Well, I guess that's the episode. Ganymede LG. I don't remember the episode, but I remember he got dumped by his girlfriend, and he hadn't seen her in a while, and after several years he goes to Earth to he goes to Earth to basically, I guess, hand over a bounty. Oh yeah, he went to Earth to deliver a bounty, and he basically, he's down there with his his bebop crew or whatever, and I guess the people who he used to work with, police or whatever, and since he left and they haven't seen him in a while, they told him about a bounty. The bounty happens to be his ex-girlfriend, the one who dumped him years prior, and she, even though she's going, I think he went to go check her no. He didn't know he was gonna get her just yet. What happens was he went to Earth, he dropped off his bounty, and then after he dropped off his bounty, he went and chatted up with some old friends or whatever the case is, and then he was told about his ex-girlfriend and how she was doing. She had a business, it was successful for a while, and then it kind of just it was closing its doors. So he went over there to chat up his old girl. There was no hard feelings that she dumped him, and he would reminisce with her, but he didn't dwell on anything. He didn't he wasn't the type of guy that was gonna, basically simp about this type of thing. He wasn't gonna be on his knees begging her to come back. He took it for what it was. He was reminiscing about the past, but he doesn't dwell on it or show any anger towards her. He basically left her alone, and during his chat with his lover, the colleagues, during his chat with his lovers, Jet's former colleague hits up the Bebop crew to speak with Spike and informs him of a bounty on basically Jet's ex-girlfriend. And so I guess Spike kind of relays the news to his ex-girlfriend, and even he's like, it's your ex-girlfriend, Jet said he'll take care of it. So apparently her ex-boyfriend, and she was trying to escape with him. So he books them, but what makes him anti-simp, like I said, is he never let this deter him from his goal. What did I say anti-simp was? Anti-simp was somebody who was basically on their purpose, who didn't let women deter them from their purpose. They basically attracted women despite the fact, or they remained on their purpose despite the fact that these women tried to, use their femininity to get them to change or to And the fact that the way he took L's gracefully, the way he took this L. She dumped him, and she was going, and he was a sure thing, and she wanted to get with a guy who was adventurous. But look where that led her, and he didn't trip about it, and he did his job as a bounty hunter. So that's what makes him pretty thorough. He was pretty much an anti-simp type of character, and Spike never did that type of thing either, even with his ex-lovers. And you should see the way he handles Faye Valentine, who's always trying to throw her femininity at Spike. Next up, I want to say one of my favorite characters of all time, the man, the slayer of 100 men in one night by his lonesome, Guts from Berserk. I want to say Guts and Griffith. I want to talk about Guts because he was one of the characters in the show that, you know, despite the fact that Casca hated his guts, she ended up coming around, and he never changed who he was. And even in the event that he asked her to come along with him, I don't think she could have. I don't think she could have come with him by the time the end of the show had aired. But that's the point. He never changed his purpose. He never changed his purpose for a woman. He kept continue on. Even when he was with her, he wanted to be with her, and he had feelings for her. He never let that deter him from his purpose. And he attracted her without changing who he was. Even though she hated him and, you know, a whole bunch of other crap, he never changed who he was. And the same thing went for Griffith. He was probably one of the most thorough characters of all times when it comes to anime. When it comes to the anime character, even though he's done some questionable things, and we're talking about way before he became the monster at the end of Berserk. We're talking about you know, the things he did to earn the money for his army, you know, for his crew. And he was at one point in the anime, he basically was pretty much, you know, grooming this girl for his potential future. And he was just so thorough in this scene when he was courting her. This is with a scene where Guts had overheard him say that he didn't, you know, he couldn't respect a man that didn't have his own dreams. That's what caused Guts to leave. And no matter how much, you know, he tried to, you know, get Guts to stay, you know, Guts ended up leaving, and I guess it somehow broke his character. You know, it was somebody you couldn't have control over, because Griffith had control over everything. He always planned anything and everything out. That's how they were always, you know, able to win battles. And sometimes it seemed like he cared a lot about Guts' own well-being more than he cared about the crew. At times, he put his own life in danger for Guts. So it was kind of interesting to see that Guts was leaving, and, you know, in order for him to stay there, in order for him to become a part of the Band of the Hawks, you know, it was either going to be he had to basically fight for his life. He had to defeat Griffith in order to, in order to be free. If not, you know, his life belonged in Griffith's hands. But when they had to duel again in order for him to leave, well, it's interesting that he never fought Griffith before that. I guess he liked being a part of that crew so much that he stuck around. But that's what makes Griffith and Guts anti-simpish. Anti-simp. They basically were guys who never let women deter them from their purpose. Actually, you know what? I should probably take Griffith off. Because, actually, you know what? No. Griffith never let any... I was thinking about it because of the girl. You know, the girl that he went and ran to. And, you know, it kind of messed up his plans. But at the end of the day, his plans were still his plans. And he took a different measure to get to them, even though he was captured. But I should probably say this video is sort of full of spoilers. So if I'm going to try to edit in that, you know, this video is full of spoilers in the beginning so that you guys don't get caught off guard if you haven't seen these shows. Moving on to the next person, and probably one of my favorites on this list. A lot of these guys are my favorites. Dutch from Black Lagoon. There was a character on that show named Bala Leka, and she was one of the most feared characters on that show, but Dutch maneuvered and handled her like accordingly, even asking her for things that, you know, would probably have gotten somebody else's head blown off. But she had a crush on Dutch, and she never got out of her pocket with him. He never reacted in accordingly. He conducted himself like probably one of the most anti-simpish characters on this list. You guys should check out Black Lagoon. You already know this next character, considering you guys like to use Mordecai and Rigby or the regular show characters, but it's Rigby. Rigby had a girlfriend. I bet people didn't think Rigby was going to attract a girlfriend because he did not care for women or female characters at all. You know, if they were going to be somebody that impeded his progress, he did not care for them, and that's what makes Rigby a pretty anti-simp character. Carlton from the Fresh Prince is next, and I'm going to give you 2 points. Actually, I only really need 1 point in which he was the most thorough, and he continued to be the most thorough on the show. The episode of the Fresh Prince when Will was, because many people think that Will was the player among them, but Will was actually the simp, and Carlton was anti-simp. Carlton, at one episode of the Fresh Prince, this is like in the first season, Will was dating this chick played by Vivica Fox, and she was walking all over him, just treating him really badly. And Carlton saw this when he was out on a date. Will was trying to pass her off on to Carlton. He was talking them all up, and she was still throwing him attitude because he didn't have the game to deal with a broad like her. He didn't know how to deal with a chick like her. He just took whatever abuse that he was getting from a chick, he just took it. So Carlton saw that, and he checked her. He checked her hard. And Carlton never changed his character to attract her. He checked her so hard that she ended up jocking him, and he ended up getting her. You know, she was out of pocket with the waiter. He made her apologize. He made her apologize to everybody, and she was just under a spell. You know, that ism pretty much sent her under a spell, and he basically took Will's girl. I mean, he didn't know what to do with her in the first place once she became cooperative, but, you know, that's how some of these guys are. Next character on the list. You know, I can't help but think that a lot of these characters on this list are some favorites. I'm gonna say Vegeta. Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z, and I didn't watch DBZ, Dragon Ball Super, or what's the other show? GT. I didn't watch anything else besides Dragon Ball Z. I barely even tolerated Dragon Ball Z because they have terrible writing. But Vegeta was one of my favorite characters on the show, and Vegeta's character was somebody as anti-simp as they come. Somebody who was on his purpose. He was on his purpose to become the most powerful warrior in the universe. He trained every day, all day, and despite the fact that, let's be real, he didn't have any money coming to Earth, but somehow he managed to stay with Bulma, and at the end of the Frieza saga, and by the time the I want to say Cell saga started, he and her had created a baby in Trunks. So how did this guy, who, let's be realistic, he's the Prince of Saiyan on his planet, but that doesn't mean squat on planet Earth. And he ended up pulling the richest woman on the planet, or one of the richest women on the planet, and he had a baby with her. That is some anti-simp behavior right there. Meanwhile, you know the story of Yamcha, man. You know the story of Yamcha. Another character I might as well add to the list, since he's from the same show, is Goku. But not from Dragon Ball Z, though. Goku is totally henpecked in Dragon Ball Z. I would not add Goku from Dragon Ball Z or anything else after Dragon Ball Z from the list. We're talking about Goku from Dragon Ball. From the time he was a kid up until he was an adult. He's kind of questionable because he was unaware. And some of these characters on this list are going to be unaware characters. But he was unaware of women, women and their femininity. You remember the episode in which, Bulma was sleeping and he realized that she didn't have any balls. He wondered where her balls were at. He took her panties off and patted her on the cooter puff and took her panties off to look at what she had. And, by the end of the first saga of Dragon Ball, in which he, what did he do? What did he do? I'm trying to remember what he did. But in the first half of Dragon Ball, because I don't know if they broke it up into like seasonal episodes. It's just 150 episodes. But I'll probably say in the first half of Dragon Ball, when he and Bulma ran into each other, by the end of the whole series, and I think they collected all the Dragon Balls, he could have got with her. I feel like if he was more self-aware, because she wanted to get with him. And then there was also Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi, who her father was he had a chance to get with two girls who were probably pretty rich, because Chi-Chi was the daughter of the Ox King, one of the strongest warriors in this universe. In that show before King Piccolo and all the other freaks landed the Earth or wanted to destroy the planet in the next saga series. So Chi-Chi and he could have had Chi-Chi and Bulma, But what makes his character anti-simp is he never let them steer them from his purpose. He wanted to be the strongest. He became the strongest. He won his tournaments. He's actually had a couple other girls as well. He's been to a couple other villages on his journey, and he's met some other girls that he could have had, or he probably already had. You know, this is like, you know, side quests, not side quests, like maybe the OVAs or just side parts of the story. Because he did travel. He did travel and he met other people. I think that's how he discovered the sensu beans. And Kami and many other characters. But I feel like that's what made Goku anti-simp. He didn't let females sway him from his purpose for what he wanted to do. And he never changed who he was to attract the females he attracted. Next up on the list is probably a huge fan favorite, Batman. Batman to me is a prime example because of even though I think the creators of Batman is kind of dumb because he didn't want to create a black Batman in a fictional universe. I'm going to go with Batman. Batman is a character who has had some love interests, and those love interests, despite the fact that they were trying to throw their femininity at him, he was still book them. He would still do his job or do what he felt was right as Batman, which is, you know, bring them to justice. And especially with Catwoman and what's her name, Talia al Ghul, the granddaughter of what's her name, Ra al Ghul. I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, but you guys know what I mean. You know, Batman, even though he had feelings for both of these women, actually as of now, I think both of them are his baby mamas. Even though, you know, he had feelings for both of these women, he's probably been in love with both of these women, he never let that deter him from his purpose. His purpose was it was justice. That's what his purpose was. He never let them stop him from his purpose. And we're almost, I'm gonna see if I can wrap this up right quick. I don't want this to be too long. I want like at least most of y'all to stick around and check this out because I feel like I'm saying some pretty thorough shit that you guys could get behind. Another character that I want to point out that, and this, I'm trying to be as accurate as I can saying this guy's name. His name is Shishio Makoto from the Ryukin. I'm trying to say this right. Ryukin Shinra. Hold on. Make sure I say it right. Ryonin Kenshin. That's what it is. Ryonin and Kenshin. So this character is probably one of the most thorough characters on this list, on the simple fact that he was basically dressed like a mummy, and he had one of the most attractive prostitutes in love with him, and she could have had any guy, and he told people that he was evil. Excuse me. He told people that he was evil, and that, you know, that's pretty much he let people know that he was evil. He was a bad guy. He did bad and horrible things. He attracted probably one of the most attractive prostitutes in the in the show. Her name was Komo Gadi Yumi, and she would have did anything for him. She loved him so much that she actually died for him. That is some true anti-simp ish right there. She did not change. She actually got down with his program. He is who I would have modeled this whole list of after. Like if any character you were thinking about was anti-simp, they need to meet his requirements. Because he was a bad person. He was hideous. He was dressed like a mummy. Because I think somewhere in the show he got burned. They tried to burn him to death, but he survived. But he still had, you know, burn wounds. So he was hideous underneath all the bandages, and she still was in love with this guy. He was her lover. And despite the fact that he was a bad guy, despite the fact that, as a matter of fact, when you look at this list, you might consider some of these guys on this list to be mostly villains, or you might consider most of the guys in who are considered anti-simp will be villains. So she actually died for him, despite the fact that he was not attractive, despite the fact that he was a bad guy. He never changed who he was, and he stuck to his purpose. Her ideals actually conformed to his. He didn't conform to anybody, and that's what makes him one of the best characters on this list. Anyway, what do you guys think? I think I listed about 10 characters so far. You know, I think so. What do you guys think? You know, I'm gonna do another video not too long after this, but you know, what do you guys think about this list so far? Let me know in the comments if you feel like I should continue doing this. And I will catch you at the next video. Peace.